What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. So as most of you guys can probably tell, a lot of my videos take a very significant amount of research to get made, and I love researching and learning about just League of Legends and studying everything, especially the history, and it's one of my favorite parts about making videos, especially recently. But one problem that I've run into is that every now and then I stumble upon some things that I find to be really interesting and cool, but maybe there isn't enough information on that specific topic to make a full video on it. So every once in a while I figured why not just throw the random things together and make like a compilation of random assorted things. And so because of the way we're making these types of general fact videos, they're also going to be pretty inconsistent, since we'll just make one whenever we happen to get enough things to talk about. But I'm definitely excited to be able to share this kind of just random and assorted stuff. And so if you guys enjoy this type of video and maybe want to see more, drop a like, and maybe if you didn't, feel free to drop a dislike. Anyway, the first thing that we have some information on is actually what the next champion, or at least what very likely is going to be the next champion. So with the news of Riot Gypsy Lord leaving to be on the balance team and no longer being a champion designer, as well as a lot of other champion designers like Riot Certainly T joining the reworks team and all sorts of stuff, there's some room for new blood in the champion design department at Riot Games. And one of the new designers that is leading a champion project goes by the name of Riot Harrow. Riot Harrow was originally a writer, and he played a big role in writing Aatrox, Darius, Jace, and Hecarim's stories, and some other secret stuff, as well as playing a small role in a handful of other champions. And Riot Harrow is now one of the head champion designers, and the next champion that is going to get released will almost certainly be the very first ever champion designed by Riot Harrow. This was confirmed by Riot Harrow himself and Riot Scarzard live on stream, and of course he wasn't able to give away any information as to what the actual champion will be, but he did mention that the design process for his first champion was very complex. And the Riot Harrow champion went through about 3, maybe even 4 serious versions on every single ability during playtesting and such. So hopefully we have some exciting stuff to talk about in the What Could Have Been episode for his champion, and I'm definitely looking forward to its release. For our next handful of facts, we're diving deep down into the history books as we head all the way back to beta with some things that were once in the game that you might not have known about. Back in the very early alpha stage, you used to actually be able to critically strike towers. You would crit them just as you normally would a critical strike on a champion or a minion, dealing 200% damage, and back then the stat of critical strike was also much more readily available. I mean, you could get it flat chance of critical strike through your masteries, and the items and runes for it were a little bit more generous as well. So being able to crit towers would have led to some very quick tower taking. This mechanic was removed on the April 11th, 2009 patch, which was the first week of the closed beta that immediately followed the alpha stage. I imagine it was removed because champions building critical strike chance were already taking towers extremely fast because of their attack speed. I mean, just imagine an 80 carry now, they already take down towers crazy fast, but if you could crit them, oh man, they'd be gone in just a few seconds, so it was probably for the better that they removed them this early on into the game. Another thing that you might not have known that existed during the early days of League of Legends is that minions used to be able to regenerate health. I'm not entirely sure if it was all minions or maybe just cannon minions or inhibitor minions or what exactly, but there was definitely some form of minion regeneration in the game, which is honestly kind of a weird concept. It was removed on the June 19th, 2009 patch as a way to speed up the game times and make them shorter, and as I'm sure you can imagine, having health regeneration on minions would probably make minions a lot tankier since they just get a bunch of random health from nothing. As well, inhibitor minions in specific that spawned at the time also had mana, so not only could they regenerate health, but they could also regenerate mana as well. I'm not really sure what exactly the mana was used for, but they definitely did have it, and it would have been kinda weird since the mana regen was removed back in beta, but the actual mana stat on the minions wasn't removed until patch 108, long after the game had already launched, so it's quite likely that the mana wasn't used for anything, just that it happened to randomly exist on the minions as a stat. Honestly, when I think about just how different the game was back in beta, it really makes me realize that the League of Legends beta was honestly pretty damn awesome. There was just so much stupid crap that just got fixed and improved on, and the beta phase of League of Legends is something I wish players would appreciate more, because I would say it's probably one of the biggest reasons why League of Legends was a successful game. Another thing that existed way back during the beta is a little bit of a silly one, because it was the set of champion icons being a lot different to what we know today. The champion icons have evolved throughout the years in League of Legends, but way back in the beta, the champion icons all looked way different to what they do now. I mean, just take a look through them. These are the original icons for the first 38 champions in League of Legends, so everyone released before Shaco and Heimerdinger. Back then, the writers used to make all of their ability icons in Microsoft Paint, and I'm not sure if they made the champion icons that way too, but just looking at these, well, it's probably safe to assume that they did. Every time a champion gets an updated icon, I always see comments complaining about it on Reddit or on the forums or someplace random, but you guys don't really understand how bad it really was back in the day. And I, for one, am glad that Riot does actually try to update the champion icons every once in a while. It kind of makes you wonder, I mean, what champion icons exist in the game today that are maybe deserving of an update or some tweaks or something? All of the icons are perfectly acceptable now, but I'd like to see maybe Galio, maybe Yorick, get some nice updated icons eventually. Who do you guys feel should get an updated icon? Leave a comment and I'll take a look through them later on. And while we're on the topic of the beta, one thing that I didn't actually realize until very recently, but if you check all the way back to around early 2010, on leagueoflegends.com, they had a page that talked about some features that they were developing at the time. And most of them were, you know, pretty standard things like your ranked system, because at the time they didn't have a ranked system. And of course, they also mentioned replays and a spectator mode and all of that great stuff. Pretty much everything made it into the game that they listed on that page, except for replays, of course. Rest in peace, League of Legends replays. But one thing that Riot was actively spending development time on at the time that I actually had no idea that they actually developed this was voice chat. Now, voice chat is something that has been talked about a lot, and it's obvious that Riot knew about it and chose not to implement it, but I figured they had just always thought that they had never wanted to develop it from the start, but it turns out that they had been actively developing it at one point in time with the idea that it would eventually be added to the game. And I'm going to quote what they said on their website about 6.5 years ago. One of our long-term goals is to add a fully integrated voice chat solution to League of Legends and the PvP.net platform. Voice chat will be opt-in and persistent throughout the experience, and you'll be able to create custom chat rooms with your friends, teammates, and clan members. And somewhere along the line, they decided that they would not implement voice chat, but I'm kind of interested to hear your guys' thoughts on voice chat, because it's probably one of the very, very few remaining controversial topics that I've never talked about before on this channel. And usually I love talking about controversial topics, but with voice chat, that's mostly just because I kind of have like a very neutral opinion about it. I honestly kind of don't really care, or at least I don't care enough to pick a side. I mean, I'm fine with it being implemented, or I'm fine with it not being implemented, but who knows? I just kind of found it interesting how it's something that a reasonable amount of players want that was actually in development at one point, rather than it being something that Riot just never wanted to implement from day one, which is what I had originally thought about voice chat. And that wraps up our 5 things for today. I'm not sure if every video is going to be 5 or what exactly I'm going to do with this idea, but hopefully you guys enjoyed hearing some in-depth thoughts about just random shit, basically. Let me know what you guys thought of the format in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, and if you didn't, leave a dislike. Subscribe if you want. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.